did have some music coming from Pandora, but I guess I did not have the good account where you get out of the commercials. So it was going to the commercial, and I was like, I don't think people want to hear about it. So no problem. But again, everyone, welcome for this special presentation. This is presented to you by Aspen's University chapter of NSLS. Now, many of you probably have never even heard that Aspen has a chapter of NSLS, or you might have seen something in the mail that came through, or you might have heard about it. But rest assured, it is real, it's thriving, and we're very excited to be putting on this presentation for you. Again, NSLS, which is the National Society of Leadership and Success, as well as Aspen University, we welcome you to the special presentation. Prior to getting started, I do have some housekeeping that I do want to go over with you. We have a full house that registered for this event. If they come, they come. If they don't, it's okay. But, to be on the safe side, again, we have a full house. Okay, so if you need to leave, you can leave, but please do stay on mute. That way it'll just be easier to monitor going forward. We won't have any Q&As during the event, okay? But what our speaker stated is that he will have a Q&A afterwards. So if you do have any questions, we'll be able to take you off. You can go off mute and ask questions at that time when he's ready for those questions to happen. And the last thing here is really, I want you to be present today, okay? Put down the iPads, put down the phones, turn off the TVs, and I really want you to pay attention to this presentation. It's very important information. It's very good information. We're very lucky here to have this guest speaker here this evening. And what I want to do is I want to introduce you to our team here for NSLS. In our university chapter, we have Miss Karen Crane, and she can say hi, or she can see she's waving. She's our chapter success manager, okay? And she works with our chapter to make sure that we're getting the most out of it, basically. And she's there to answer any questions that we do have. So she's kind of our right-hand man or woman, would you say? We also have Julie Russell, who's a chapter advisor, but she strictly works with NSLS on the NSLS side. We have Dr. Eva Ballard. Some of you might be familiar with Dr. Ballard. She is the dean of our School of Education. Okay, there's myself, Dr. Daniel Zimmerman. I'm the chapter advisor as well for Aspen University. And you probably didn't know that we actually have a student president here for NSLS, and it's Daphne Sager. So we'll be talking a little bit about initiatives going forward as well in just a second. But yeah, we have a student president, and we're looking for more. So a little bit of it for those who weren't very familiar with NSLS. Obviously, we were founded back in 2022 here at Aspen University. Okay, and currently we have 2,444 members. That's a lot, right? A lot of members. And it's a lot of bandwidth within the United States. And really, the reason why we decided to bring NSLS chapter to Aspen University, because Aspen is a big school, right? I mean, it's a nationwide online university. We had campuses in Arizona, but we really wanted to bring value to our students online by providing them additional business and leadership opportunities. And then now it's just blossomed, right? It's gotten huge, and with over 2,000 members, but NSLS itself has over 2 million members, right? And they represented over 800 different universities. So for those who are really into networking, this might be for you if you do meet the criterion to get into NSLS. And again, for those who are alumni, there might be an opportunity for you to join as well. NSLS here. Okay, so don't think that we're just talking to you, the current members here, current students. Some Aspen and NSLS initiatives. Again, we're going to begin recruiting. Okay, we're going to be recruiting e-board members, and these are just some of the positions that we're going to be looking for. So Daphne is going to be working with Karen, and we're going to be putting together a strategic plan in order to bring some people on for that role. So if you feel that you would like to become part of the NSLS family, on an e-board level. Definitely be on the lookout for more additional information, but we'll be looking right now at SNT's social media, communication, outreach, and events management. And then currently, our fall invitations have been sent out. And currently, right now, we are at 57 new members for the Aspen University chapter, which is great. If you're waiting on your chapter, you're waiting on your invitation, or you're sitting there pending and wondering, should I do this? Do I need to do this? Well, hopefully, you'll jump on it today and sign up for it. Again, the criteria for the current students, undergraduate, you need to have a 3.0 GPA. Okay, this is an honor society, right? National Society of Leadership and Management, and for those in graduate, 3.2. But remember, this is open to all the schools: School of Health Sciences, School of Business Administration, School of Business and Technology, and School of Education. So I just rambled off a whole ton of information. I apologize, but what I want to do is I want to introduce our guest speaker here today. Okay, this is what you guys came to see, not to hear me talk. But tonight's speaker is Mr. David Messineo, and his topic is stitching together the future of healthcare and AI. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Mr. Messineo can pull up his presentation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about David. David's an AI and data innovative leader with over 20 years experience. David is a pioneer in data-driven innovation and artificial intelligence. As a senior director of Industry 4.0 innovation at Excellence, he spearheads digital transformation strategies, integrating cutting-edge tech and cloud platforms across business processes. At Piney Bowes, David led global teams that transformed a $20 million investment into $220 million in revenue over 6 years. He's managed 120 plus data science projects, enhanced decision making in areas such as demand forecasting, logistics efficiency, and fraud management. His leadership in developing AI platforms results in tenfold cost savings and a 40% reduction in process latency. Previously, as a distinguished engineer at Broadcom, formerly known as CA Technologies, David launched a mentoring program that led to 40 plus patents, served as an executive editor of the CA Technology Exchange, and he's currently teaching graduate level decision science at SUNY Park College. Without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton over to David Messineo. Thank you, David.
All right, thank you,
Pass the
Dr.
baton to
Kimberly.
David Messineo. He's the presenter.
I just want to make sure people can hear me. Okay, and they can see my presentation. Very good. All right, well, good evening, everyone. So what I want to talk about today is about the future of being a medical provider. So, just exactly what is the future of being a medical provider? It's an interesting question, right? So you try to imagine, asking that question 50 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 years ago or even last year. And I'm here today to really kind of discuss that question, to explore how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing healthcare and, by other extensions, other professions, because I know some of you are not pursuing medical, but you're pursuing other things. But we want to pursue things in other innovative ways. And really, more to the point, how does it affect the way healthcare and whatever industry you're pursuing in terms of your future careers? So before we begin, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to Aspen University and the National Society of Leadership and Success for hosting this event. I really enjoy doing these kind of events, and I hope you will as well. For close to 35 years, I forged my career applying analytical methods to solve complex problems across various industries. And I'm not here to share with you some of these principles of transforming medicine, but I do want you to think more holistically, not just about medicine, but how it can apply to your particular field. At the end, I'll share with you my LinkedIn site, so you can feel free to connect with me, and if there's other opportunities in pursuing and things that you feel would be interested, follow me. I talk about a lot of industry things on my LinkedIn site. So in this presentation, stitching together the future of healthcare with AI, I'll examine basically how data-driven, predictive, and personalized approaches are reshaping patient care, whether it's from AI-assisted diagnosis to personalized treatment plans. We're really on this cusp of a new era in medicine. And again, for those outside medicine, and understanding an AI and its impact on emerging technologies, honestly, will be essential to your industry, your career, and really, in many cases, the joy of sort of a better work-life balance. And you'll see that as we talk about the benefits that AI provides in medicine. So what if, I'm sorry, my slide went a little out of control. It's just doing this. So what if I told you that one day your primary care physician might not be human? After all, then the practice of medicine is now on the cusp of revolutionary change, and it will be stressful. Change always is, as I know everyone recognizes. But don't let that scare you. In fact, I'm hoping it'll inspire you and arm you with confidence about your future. So for the next 35, 40 minutes, I want you to tap into that inner passion and excitement that brought you here. So let's start with something obvious. Imagine a healthcare system where treatment plans are tailored to your genetic makeup, lifestyle, and potential health and personal health data. I want to just take 10 seconds. I want you to imagine the possibilities. Just spend 10 seconds thinking about what healthcare would mean to you. So I'll give you 10 seconds. Think about that. Okay, now hold on to that thought. I'm going to refer to it a couple of times throughout the presentation. So this semi-automated primary care physician, or PCP, it isn't science fiction, even today. It's the emerging reality of an AI-assisted medicine. So medical advances, though, have always transformed patient care, whether it's from the invention of the stethoscope, which we all know, to MRI machines. Technology's continuously made advances in taking care of you. So now we're really entering an era where AI could become the physician's most powerful ally. Take that thought that you had from that 10 seconds and look in the mirror. Imagine yourself, you're looking in the mirror. So you will be the catalyst and the arbiter of change. That's one of the reasons why I like talking with students, young students, because that really is the change. It starts with ideas that you have. You have a 40-year probably career ahead of you. And it's really great to kind of get a sense for that passion early on. Now take a deep breath. And I'll also say that the future of healthcare isn't about replicating you. So for those of you that are pursuing fields in medicine, relax. There's a lot to do. It isn't about just medical providers with machines. It's really about creating this symbiotic relationship where AI enhances and amplifies the human experience. It's really about how people endure, even in pain. It's about empathy. Never lose sight of that. It's very easy with AI. People lose sight of that there's people behind it. There's a lot to discuss. And to guide your thinking, I'd like to keep in mind three concepts. First is this concept of knowledge synthesizing. In AI-driven healthcare, medical providers will become the last mile of synthesizing vast amounts of information. So you'll see the AI tools will empower you to quickly, integrate this collection of patient data and research findings, as well as, clinical guidelines. It will enable more accurate diagnosis and personalized treatment plans. For the medical community, it's really about strengthening clinical decision-making. You can still leverage AI to distill complex medical information, but what it becomes is more actionable. Simply, there's a wider view of things. And as you learn to apply AI and its techniques, simply speaking, your insights likely expand and your ability to be actionable will be better. Second is this notion of being technology empowered. As future medical professionals or other professionals, You'll be armed with AI-powered tools that basically, augment those capabilities that you're learning today in school or as you pursue further education. Far beyond, what's available today. And no longer will you be sort of limited to this idea of thinking inside the box. From AI assistants that help with patient triage to predictive analytics for, let's say, easy disease detection. Technology will amplify your expertise and the ability to express that in sustaining life. So while yes, medical providers will be sold on improved efficiency and accuracy in healthcare delivery, you can focus on the human aspects of patient care. So let AI handle those time-consuming data analysis and routine tasks. The third is being patient-centered. So whatever technological advancements lie ahead of us, the future of healthcare remains fully centered on the patient. AI will enable personalized medicine. Personalized. The key difference is subtle. It's a shift of care towards being more preventive. AI helps you anticipate and address health issues before they become critical. The big idea you had, that 10-second pause, wasn't it about improving your quality of life? When you think about what was it that you thought, even under the most unfortunate circumstances, because we live in this uncertain world, no matter what profession you pursue. But those big ideas, they're personalized and they're designed to improve your quality of life. And it's this third area where I want to start our journey together. So meet Sarah. She has a demanding career in finance, and like many of her peers, she's embraced the emerging trend of wearable technology. She wore a smartwatch that tracked her steps, calories burned, heart rate, and sleep quality. Many of you probably have similar type things today. It also reminded her to stay active. While it was useful for general wellness, it really kind of lacked that comprehensive health, insights on that. You still had to put a lot of the dots together. It was mostly reactive. So recently, Sarah upgraded to a fancy new watch. It uses an AI empowered mental health app that engages in more meaningful conversations, tracks her mood and offers personalized coping strategies. I'm sure students, you're familiar with large language models and ChatGPT and things like that. That's an example of what I mean by having more meaningful conversations. So having a watch like this and the kinds of apps really it allows it to identify patterns in her responses. And in cases that I see now and in the future, that even provides the ability to do things like ECG and blood oxygen monitoring and detecting any kind of subtle changes that might have gone unnoticed by Sarah. So one day, your watch detects this irregularity in heart rhythm. And the watch's AI health assistant, drawing on this vast database of medical knowledge, recognizes this as a potential concern. What's it do? Well, it prompts Sarah to schedule a checkup, even offering to find appointments with her PCP. Things like prescriptions could be sent to have blood work done automatically at convenient times and locations. Results from those tests are automatically routed to her medical provider. Some of this is done today. Most of it's not, but we're getting there, and you'll notice that. So when she's at her doctor's office, what do we think happens? Well, AI algorithms can analyze Sarah's health data, and it can suggest that she might be at risk of an inherited disease. Well, from the doctor's perspective, they can help. The AI can help prepare for a conversation on preventive measures, and if it's available, obviously with security and privacy, but the doctor could tie into Sarah's past history with those of her family members. So it's holistic, but again, personalized. So shortly after her appointment, Sarah receives an AI generated health plan. It contains a highly personalized program considering her generic profile, current health status, whatever like her diet preferences are, and perhaps even a work schedule. It combines this, dietary recommendations, if that's appropriate, with exercise routines and just different stress management techniques, all tailored to Sarah's preferences. Again, personalized. It also provides links to further educate herself. So it could be an AI chatbot designed to answer questions that are specifically trained on those particular conditions. It could identify local communities that focus on her condition. And local, the word local doesn't necessarily mean in town. Local can be online, right? So the world could be considered local. So looking forward, we might envision an older Sarah in a world where AI has become an indispensable health guardian. Her AI health companion is no longer confined to a watch and a phone app. It's an omnipresent system that continuously monitors and optimizes her health. We might even imagine, for one example, something that I recently read about is a nanobot scan that can conduct uh, analysis while you're sleeping. And so these nanobots could actually detect, or while she's sleeping, detect precancerous cells for perhaps in her breast tissue. You can imagine that before Sarah's even awake, her health support system has processed this information. In fact, you might even think she already has an appointment. So what can we learn from Sarah? Well, we can explore AI's potential in streamlining administrative tasks. We can develop skills in AI augmented decision making. We can specialize in AI human collaborative healthcare delivery. AI has evolved to manage not just Sarah's physical health, but her entire lifestyle for optimal well being. It draws on a deep understanding of Sarah's personality, past experiences, and successful coping mechanisms to offer support that feels personal and effective. So the AI Health Companion is a guardian, it's a coach, and a companion all rolled into one, dedicated to helping Sarah live her healthiest, happiest life. Personalized to help improve your quality of life. Remember this phrase, once again, personalized to improve your quality of life. Now let's meet Maya's older sister, Sophia, who was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at the age of 10. Sophia's daily life revolves around manual glucose checks and insulin injections. It's terrible, actually. Each meal becomes a chore as her parents teach her to calculate carbohydrates and measure out precise insulin doses. Nighttime is particularly miserable. The anxiety of nocturnal hypoglycemia, frequent alarms, and sleeping interruptions conditioned her parents to check her glucose levels often. Everybody lost sleep. She experienced frequent highs and lows, each bringing its own set of physical and emotional challenges. Not surprisingly, Sophia often felt her diabetes was controlling her life rather than the other way around, and in many ways, so did her parents. Is that fair? Her glucose meter could only provide a snapshot of her blood sugar at a given moment, and its analysis was more or less limited to displaying data in simple graphs and things. And while there are sort of continuous glucose monitors that are even available today, they require constant manual input and adjustment to manage the pumps. Being young, the doctor felt such discipline would make Sophia's life and those of her parents all the more complicated. Now imagine years later, Sophia's younger sister, Maya, is diagnosed at 5 with the same condition. Experience a revolutionized form of diabetes management. Maya, AI companion called Glue, uses advanced advanced machine learning algorithms to predict her glucose levels hours in advance. It integrates, with her continuous glucose monitor insulin pump, creating this sort of closed loop system that automatically adjusts insulin delivery in real time. It also evaluates factors like meals or planned meals, her exercise routines. It can monitor her stress levels. And if helpful, it can do things like even monitor weather patterns that might affect her metabolism. The key is no calculations, no parents, minimum inconvenience. Peering into the future, we might imagine Maya's management of her diabetes has become so seamless that she often forgets she even has a chronic condition. Glue has learned to anticipate her needs so well that her blood glucose levels are more stable than even many non-diabetics. So what might we learn from Maya and Sophia? Well, one is to stay informed about emerging technologies in chronic care management, learning to adapt treatment strategies based on AI predictions, and being able to focus on complex cases beyond the AI's current capabilities today by keeping track of what and research is going on into the future. The advances in AI and biotechnology really just have fundamentally transformed the landscape of chronic disease management beyond what people could likely have predicted, 5 or even 10 years ago. This level of control was unimaginable just a few years earlier. And really, it's to the thanks and the power of AI. Again, personalized to improve your quality of life. My third example, on a Friday night, 28-year-old Will was involved in a severe car accident. 911 was called. Unfortunately, dispatchers are limited to options based on what they can see and measure. At the hospital, Will is rushed through a series of tests and examinations. Doctors and nurses work tirelessly. Unfortunately, during the rush and confusion of triage, communication between departments get fragmented. Radiologists interpret scans separately from the ER team. Specialists are called in sequentially. Each provider requires a briefing on Alex's health condition, leading to delays in diagnosis and treatment. And of course, not to be forgotten, Will's family waits anxiously in the lobby, receiving infrequent and even sometimes inconsistent updates. And you can imagine that they struggle to understand some of the medical jargon and the implications of Alex's injuries. A few days later, upon discharge, they give Will a gift, this huge, thick folder of paper, instructions, and follow-up appointments. So the onus is now on Will and his family to manage recovery, schedule visits, and monitor progress. As you might guess, Will's car accident, this experience I described, really represents the traditional emergency care. Limited prior information, fragmented communication, and manual care coordination. Years later, Will's brother, Taylor, has a similar type of accident. But AI-driven emergency care is very different. Paramedics are now empowered with a preliminary AI-generated trauma assessment, including instant analysis of scans done on location of the accident. The system continually monitors Taylor's condition, predicting potential complications. An AI coordinator manages the flow of information between specialists, ensuring that each doctor has the most up-to-date information about Taylor's condition. It flags potential drug interactions and alerts the team to subtle changes in Taylor's status that might otherwise go unnoticed. Taylor's family not only receives updates through a secure AI-powered app, but it also automatically translates medical jargon into layman's terms, providing explanations of procedures and treatment progress. And now, as Taylor prepares for discharge, the AI generates a comprehensive recovery plan. It schedules those follow-up appointments, and it coordinates those outpatient specialists. And it provides Taylor and their family with a user-friendly app for managing recovery at home. Let's take it one step further. So let's suppose Jordan, the youngest sibling, is one day injured in a hover car accident. So we're talking a little bit out there. So the work of AI is even more advanced. And to put some context, all of the things that I'm talking here are areas which are under research now. So they're not imaginary. They're just not prime time yet. But imagine autonomous emergency drones, real-time 3D injury modeling simulations using holographic images, and AI-guided robotic surgical systems. It's like GIS for robots. It can actually insert things into the body, which makes the surgical systems much more precise. Post-surgery, an AI system of nanosensors predicts and prevents complications with near perfect accuracy. It manages physical therapy using gamification. Using advanced cyberbots, personalized psychological support is provided for dispensing and dispersing 24/7 encouragement. It's really like having the whole medical team all dedicated to a full recovery all the time. So what might we learn from Will, Taylor, and Jordan? Well, we could manage fragmented communication between departments. We could use AI tools for personalized treatment and recovery plans. And we could focus on complex decision making augmented by AI simulations. So throughout the journey of these three people, from the moment of the accident to full recovery, AI serves as an invisible guardian. And I know I've used that word guardian before, and I'll use it again. It amplifies the skills of human medical professionals, coordinates complex care processes, and provides a level of attention that was just impossible before. Personalized to improve your quality of life. So with these examples, what have we learned? So you'll see on the slide, I've taken and summarized the key ideas that were through these examples. But what can we conclude from this? What can we conclude? So first of all, AI is not just a buzzword in healthcare. It's really a transformative force that's reshaping the landscape of patient care. Out are the administrative burdens, and in is allowing our medical professionals to focus on what truly matters, the patient. AI is becoming our trusted ally in the decision-making process, offering insights that complement our human expertise. AI is also empowering us to tackle the most complex cases that still require that irreplaceable human element, the touch that we call the patient journey. As you can tell, AI is a catalyst for continuous learning and improvement. It's pushing us to develop new skills and to think differently and to reimagine what's possible. AI is about creating a synergy between human compassion and technological precision. It's like the old cliche, working smarter, not harder. So what do I want you to take from these three experiences and what we've learned in terms of these things? AI is a promise towards the future of possibilities. So the question is, how do we start? So we stand at this threshold of a new medical renaissance. This renaissance, powered by artificial intelligence, promises to revolutionize patient care. It challenges us to navigate a changing and complex ethical terrain. So let's explore three critical aspects that will change the future of medicine and how we build trust in this AI-empowered era. First is the modern Prometheus. Just as Prometheus gifted fire to humanity, AI is the catalyst igniting unprecedented progress in healthcare. It's transforming everything from surgical precision to diagnostic accuracy, acting as our guiding light in the quest for better patient outcomes. Fusing the future of medicine. It's not just a tool. That is, AI is not just a tool, but it's a collaborator in healthcare. It's that detective uncovering hidden patterns in patient data, the virtuoso conductor in the surgical theater, and the architect of personalized medicine. It's this fusion of human expertise and AI capabilities that promises a new symphony of healthcare delivery. We have the ethical labyrinth. As we harness AI's power, we must navigate a complex maze of ethical considerations, from redefining the Hippocratic Oath to establishing governance for AI medical systems. We're tasked with ensuring that our technological advancements align with our deepest values in patient care. By understanding and addressing these aspects, we can build trust in the AI renaissance. We can create a future where technology enhances rather than replaces the human touch. As students, practitioners, evangelists, even as patients, you'll be at the forefront of this transformation, tasked with harnessing AI's potential while upholding the ethical standards that have long defined this profession, as well as many of the others that you'll be pursuing. So let's briefly go into each of these. So in Greek mythology, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gifted it to humanity, igniting our progress and creativity. Today, we stand at a similar precipice. Our modern Prometheus, though, is artificial intelligence. Picture this: a surgeon poised with steady hands and beside a robotic arm moving with uncanny precision. AI has become a sculptor, its algorithms reshaping the landscape of the human body. Surgeries once deemed impossible are now routine, as if the body were clay in the hands of a master artist. And beyond the operating room, AI has become our medical muse, making connections and igniting the imaginations of medical professionals and leading to unprecedented breakthroughs. Meet our diagnostic luminary, shifting through vast seas of data, spotting patterns invisible to the human eye and its clever mind. It's bringing light to the shadows where diseases once lurked quiet and unnoticed. But the most powerful AI will always be guided by human compassion, ethics, and ingenuity. We have the power to shape how we use AI. And as we stand at this threshold, we must ask, how will we yield this new fire to better patient care? Now imagine walking into a hospital of the future, where every corridor tells a story of lives transformed by the marriage of human compassion and artificial intelligence. Behind the scenes, our AI predictive oracle sifts through mountains of medical data, connecting the dots across domains and disciplines, languages, and research. Tying it all together is our diagnostic detective, analyzing symptoms, lab results, medical histories with lightning speed, helping doctors solve medical mysteries. In the operating room, the surgeon's hands move with grace, accompanied by our surgical virtuoso. Robotic arms, as I've mentioned many times, move with superhuman precision, turn the operating table into a stage for life-saving performances. In the oncology ward, our therapeutic architect is crafting destinies. By analyzing a patient's genetic code, lifestyle, and other factors, AI designed treatment plans as unique as their fingerprints. In the mental health wing, our empathetic emissary is at work. AI is learning to understand human emotions, your human emotions. It's getting to know you, the patient, offering comfort and support when needed most. From chatbots providing 24/7 mental health support to virtual assistants guiding patients through complex treatments, AI proves that technology and empathy can coexist. This future is unfolding now, and you're going to be a part of it. So your challenge will be to harness the power of AI while never losing sight of the human touch that's at the heart of medicine. So my question to you is, are you ready to write the next chapter in this story of medical innovation? Now, look back at that big idea, that 10-second gap, and ask yourself, what can I do? What are the possibilities? What's the promise of AI that I can take, that I can feel passionate about, and I can drive a career and honestly, community, humanity, if you want to even expand it further? What can AI do? Today, there's a lot of fears about AI, and I understand that. And we'll talk about that third part in a second. What I want you to think about is the big idea you had. Can it be bigger? Is there something you can do now? Right? Those are the kinds of questions as students that really help turn your career into, honestly, a set of one success after another. So if I've mentioned it before, and we should mention it again, and we have to, it's this ethical labyrinth of AI in healthcare. So remember that Hippocratic oath on the wall, first, do no harm. Well, it takes a new meaning when AI could potentially damage the body through miscalculations or biased algorithms. How do we redefine these principles to encompass the digital theaters and healers of tomorrow? We come face to face with AI conscious conundrum. Can we program empathy into AI making life or death decisions? We must weigh AI's potential to save lives against the moral implications of delegating critical choices to machines. Meet the newest member of your medical staff, AID-MD, the artificially assisted intelligent diagnostician. The software is an expert in triage and building medical treatment plans. But does it feel pain? How do we maintain the human touch when diagnostics becomes increasingly automated? Finally, we reach the heart of the labyrinth, governing. We find lawmakers, ethicists, medical professionals huddled around a table, drafting the rules that will govern our AI medical systems. Their task is monumental, creating a framework that ensures its safety, efficacy, and yes, fairness of AI in healthcare while fostering innovation and progress. Look no more than healthcare today and the challenges we have, whether it's politically, medically, any of those, privacy, those are all issues. And they're not going to go away. And one could argue they'll get more complicated. So, as future doctors and nurses and healthcare leaders, or in whatever industry you pursue, are you ready to step into this ethical labyrinth? Are you prepared to grapple with these complex questions to help shape the future of AI, whether in medicine or your field of choice? Will you question what justice is? Remember, there are no easy answers here, but with every dilemma we tackle, we ensure that in the age of AI, the heart continues to beat strong. So the journey starts now, and you are the explorers who will chart the course. Shall we begin? So, as we conclude our journey through the AI powered future of healthcare, I want to leave you with a challenge, a call to action that will shape the very foundation of patient care in the years to come. Imagine the entire life cycle of care, from the moment a patient first notices a symptom to their long term health management. Now, infuse each step with the transformative power of AI. How might this reshape the patient experience? How could it revolutionize the way you, as future healthcare providers, deliver care? Think about AI's potential in early symptom recognition, or how it might transform that critical first point of contact. Envision AI enhanced diagnosis and personalized treatment plans. Consider how AI could revolutionize treatment monitoring, ongoing management, and even support lifestyle changes. This isn't an academic exercise, and you are the architects of tomorrow's healthcare system. Your insights, your innovations, your ethical considerations will determine how we harness AI's potential across an entire spectrum of patient care. So I challenge you, take these 10 stages of the care life cycle and reimagine them through the lens of AI. Be bold in your thinking, but never lose sight of the human element at the heart of healthcare. Remember, the most powerful AI will always be the one guided by human compassion, ethics, and ingenuity. You have the opportunity to blend cutting edge technology with the timelessness art of healing. So as you leave here today, carry with you the excitement of possibility and the weight of responsibility. The AI revolution in healthcare is not a distant future. It's unfolding now, and you are its pioneers. So, what can you do? Well, prepare. So, you're doing some of that today. You are educating yourself, going to school, engaging in different programs or with communities. Hopefully, you're collaborating across disciplines. And again, I have studied many different disciplines. I focus a lot of my efforts on using AI in areas like supply chain, renewable energy sources. And where did I get a lot of the ideas? From my studies of evolutionary biology. Nature is a fantastic source of inspiration about how nature deals with uncertainty. And I'm just using that as an example. The reality is, an educated person is one that understands that there are things to be learned from multiple disciplines. Learning to collaborate with people, building your network, continually trying to connect the dots, the kinds of dots that aren't going to be connected with ChatGPT. They're going to be connected by your experiences. That becomes critical. Engaging in ethical discourse. I had a job a while back with a company where the amount of information that was available on you was pretty intense. It was scary. And I was managing an AI team. And there were opportunities that came up for us to use that information, not in any like negative way per se, but I felt that they violated the kind of privacy that really people expected. And the fact that I could collect the information didn't mean I had the authority to use it. That happens everywhere. I just gave you one example, but you will find in the world of AI that the amount of ethical situations that will emerge will question your integrity. And you'll have to decide what kind of person you are, what kind of company you want to work for. So engaging in ethical discourse is really important. From a healthcare course, championing, patient-centered AI, but you could change that word to client-centered AI. The patient is the client, but so is all the other industries you have that of clients. So looking at the client experience to AI, as well as looking at employee engagement. When I do consultative type work, I look at things in those two dimensions: employee engagement, client experience. So I look at everybody as a client, not just the end client, but I look at the people around me. All of you students are clients today of mine. So this idea of having a champion client-centered AI and how we could use those tools will enable you to grow. And of course, last but not least, certainly, is embracing lifelong learning in whatever forms it takes. Traditional methods of learning, I don't see them going away, but there's a lot more, particularly with things like simulations and 3D, that you see out there in terms of doing like surgeries and stuff. Modeling, you hear things that are simulations that really reflect the physical world with the sort of digital atomic world. Those all things have to do with lifelong learning. So the call to action I have to you is to prepare in whatever field you endeavor to pursue. So with that, I want to open up with questions. I want to thank you for your time. I hope that I've given you sort of a slice of what AI could be used in one profession, but that honestly, if tomorrow someone said, could you apply this to a different industry? In fact, just before this call, we were kind of talking a little bit in the green room, so to speak, about AI in farming. The reality is AI is going to be pervasive. And so the very things that I talked about here will apply in one way or another to your futures. So with that, let me open up the floor for questions.
Excellent. If anyone wants to just jump off mute and then ask David your question, please do so. Or if you don't have access to a microphone, go ahead and type it in the chat and we can read that to him as well.
We're all experts.
No. Sorry. Lisa wants to go to the park.
So, hi, this is Sherry. So, I guess for me, and I'm a nursing instructor, I work for Aspen and I'm adjunct. So, working with students, how do we prepare them for the future? Rather than, so much of what we do is more of a traditional perspective, if you will. How do we really have students we guide them down that path that they're aware of what's coming when they start their clinical experience, or even when they start, once they graduate, pass their NCLEX and they're working in a clinical environment? What is the best way to do that?
So I'm gonna first of all, great question. So I'm gonna just broaden that a little bit because I think the way you phrase the question is applicable to really many industries, right? So a couple of things. There are some technologies and things which, but depending on what companies you're working for, are accessible and not. So the first thing I would say is, to what extent are the technologies or the advances in AI available to you? When I say to you, meaning whether it's a student, whether it's an institution, and that. And I would start with that. Now, the reason I'm saying that is many institutions, like for example, when I started teaching at Baruch a few years ago, they didn't embrace at first design thinking. Okay. And design thinking is a discipline for really building a collaborative way of looking at problems. It tries to de-emphasize personalities and titles. It tries to focus on keeping people sort of equal at the idea, or at ideas, and to look for solutions. Now, by taking on and saying, this is something that was available, a skill, a tool that wasn't being used. When it comes to medical, the types of capabilities, I mean, there's obviously physical, devices and capabilities and things like that, but there are lots of applications. There are lots of data sets that actually can be used. So for example, I had a peer of mine who had diabetes, the first type, which is one of the reasons why I use this as an example, because as an adult, he used to tell me about all the challenges that he had to deal with. And he went into medicine and he started collecting data. First, he started with himself. He started writing his own programs to help diagnose the challenges they would have with his sugar levels and things. So I'm saying is, it started with him. He applied and was able to use his skills to build capabilities that empowered his life. Now, when it comes to your students, the question is, are there capabilities that they can take on? So does your curriculum, for example, encourage people to look at data in different ways? Is there anything that prevents students from simply asking the question, can we do something better? Now, I'm not saying that, students have to be coders to make a difference. There's a lot of codeless environments that allow you just to take data and do analyses. The question is, do you nudge, do you push, do you inspire students to look past the textbook? In my own class, which is a capstone class, almost entirely the class is about getting out of the box. It's about looking at businesses differently, right? So I take on a lot of different topics in my class. There's roughly 8 to 10 different disciplines that are taken on. Depending on what group you're in, you focus on one discipline or another. So I would start with the first thing is, are you taking advantage of the resources that are available to your institution? Are your students being motivated to pursue out of the box thinking? Are there, there's obviously the kind of research, the accessibility with that. The second, sort of level I would look at after looking at your, institutions and things, is looking at, and again, depending on the nature of the school and the size of the school, is partnering with institutions that deal with certain kinds of problems. So again, I'm going to use the example. Actually, this isn't with Baruch, but this is with a previous employer where they were dealing with supply chain issues, or we were dealing with supply chain issues. And so I worked and I built relationships with Carnegie Mellon, among others. And we worked together. I mean, they had a program around analytics, but they didn't necessarily have the same experience around supply chain that I had. So the question I would say to you is, as a school, as an institution, are there areas that you can partner with, whether it's the kinds of internships that are available, whether it's the fact that your institutional instructors, do they have relationships as consultants? Do they have the opportunity for students to be involved in projects and initiatives? The thing I would say is you can't, and this, I know this probably comes off as pretty harsh, but you can't hide behind the textbook and you can't hide behind curriculums of the past. Curriculums of the future really require you to extend those experiences to institutions where they can touch and feel what's going on. So that's the second tier. So the first tier is looking at the institutional resources. The second is, can you sort of intelligently partner to create authentic experiences for your students in whatever way, makes sense on that. The third thing to me that you can look at is really kind of looking and developing, I would just call it a center of excellence in particular areas. And again, this is something that is, schools do. I mean, universities and schools, there are places where they focus, whether it's the staff they hire, whether it's the programs they put together. But center of excellences that basically allow you to create a space within the market, within the industry, whether it's academics or others, where you're known, where you're basically known for specific things, right? So all of these things are areas that I've focused on in different ways at different employers. And the one thing that kind of ties all these together is I'm going to use that authentic experience. So today, whether it's schools trying to get students, to get students to apply because of their, their programs, whether it's the ability of the school to socialize their students and their capabilities to partners, whether it's the ability to be seen in industry forums as the go-to place by having, research and things. I would tell you that it's all has to do, the most important thing is thinking about what are the possibilities. And I want to give you an example. I worked for a company a while back and I was put in charge of their internship program. We had an internship program. We had several, and then we also had, something akin to centers of excellence. And we had these awards every year that the management team, you would basically showcase a project. You would take on a project and showcase it. And oftentimes the teams that won the competition, were teams that had people with a lot of experience. So I challenged the management team in a way that at first they thought was kind of laughable, so laughable they let me do it. And I took a team of 5 interns, created a project that won first place. I didn't do it because I was magical. I didn't have this magic wand. I did it because I empowered their ability to think outside the box, to support what they did. Certainly, I had to put boundaries, but I didn't limit them. I encouraged them. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but to me, what do you do in a program? You think about it differently than you thought about it before. You think about authentic experiences. You think about each student as an opportunity to do something fantastic and great. You do as best as you can with minimal resources or limited resources to empower them. And what I can tell you is there's a lot more resources out there when you think of it that way than what you imagine right now. It's happened over and over and over again. Every place where I've worked, I've taken something that looked like 1x and 2x and made it 10x. It has to do completely with the way you think about a problem. I don't know if I completely answered your question, but hopefully it gave you some ideas.
Well, thank you very much for that. That was Sherry, right? It is 7 o'clock, so we did say this was gonna, or 8 o'clock on East Coast. It was gonna run for 60 minutes. So if you need to jump off, you can, don't worry. But David, we do have some questions in the chat here as well.
Sure.
That hopefully we can get to.
Yep.
The first one is Jury's, and she asks, "How do you see AI entering medical education?" And I think you touched on that a little bit with your last answer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have anything that's a little more defined to that.
Well, I would say in the presentation, let me just step back here for a minute here to this picture. And by the way, I'm hoping they share the slides with you. I'm going to just take it to this right here. I don't expect you to be able to read this, okay? But when you see the slide deck, I give you an example of how AI can be used at each one of these. I just felt like from a presentation standpoint, it was long and would have been, really difficult as someone as I was going through this, it would have just been really long. But I felt it was worth showing that. So when you look at this and you say, how does AI enter medical education? Well, look at this care life cycle and ask yourself, what are the ways that AI handles each of these things, right? So how can AI enter medical education? Well, it could be something as simple as what's happening on your watch or what happens on your app. That's a simple way to look at it. You can look at it in terms of again, you look at there's quote unquote large language models, ChatGPT, which are focused on mental health, right? Those are things that are available. There are devices, there's medical devices, companies. A lot of these companies, it's hard. There's resource issues. You can ask them to loan equipment to you as an institution. If you put a program around, if you're willing to put a course, they'll loan you the equipment, right? So how does AI enter medical education? It enters medical education by being the collaborator, by being the ally, and to really being on that data-centric part, which is around collection, analysis, to a certain extent being prescriptive about treatment, care, and it leaves you as a doctor or medical care to really focus on what I consider to be the human aspect. So that's how I see AI is it's going to focus on anything having to do with data, anything having to do with analysis, anything having to do with treatment, coming up with treatments, because those things are things that are naturally the kinds of things that statistical type analysis can take care of. And really the big difference is that AI is developing where it can determine for itself what's its best method. That's the difference really between old style statistical analysis and today. AI takes that statistical analysis and it is able to very quickly assess many different situations. And it's able to also look at thousands, if not millions of cases for validation.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that answer, and thank you for that question, Juries. I got another question here for you.
Sure.
How do you view AI within the recruitment field, especially within the military? So we're going down the other road, from Medicare, healthcare, and now we're going to be looking at military.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm going to divide that up into two parts because one part I can speak with much more certainty than the other one. But I'll give you my best on it. So in terms of AI within the recruitment field, do you remember I talked about the issues with being ethical, right? Now, I want you to take a look at what the recruitment industry has become. For an experiment, I for the class, because we actually dealt with this situation. I was going to spend the semester with my students, and I was going to apply for jobs. I mean, I did. I basically applied for jobs, knowing I wasn't going to take any, but I wanted to see how far could I get. I probably sent out about 200. Now I'm pretty, if you look at my LinkedIn, I'm a pretty experienced person. I've been using this for a while. Out of roughly 200, I got past 5 to the next level, right? And then I didn't go any further than that. Because I wasn't interested in really going much farther than just saying, okay, I got past the door. Well, how could that be? Now, maybe some people just said you're overqualified. You know what I mean? I tried to pick jobs that, are in line with my experience, but the net of it is AI in the recruitment field is very problematic. And that's because people use it to assume they know something about you that they don't. And what we're finding is, and again, I'm on both sides of the equation, on the application side, as well as on the side where we're using AI, is it does a really lousy job. I would trust AI to handle my medical concerns more than I would its ability to get me recruited somewhere. That's how bad it is, in all candor, on it. So the things I can tell you is that AI can help you with the recruitment field when you're willing to be patient and specific about what's important to you and less about what's important to the particular client to start with. Again, to start with. And then once you know about like what a client's looking for, you basically try to pair your experiences with the client's experiences. So let me try to restate that. You can use tools, and again, I'm going to use large language models because that's one of the biggest ones that's being used for this, to help you understand yourself. You can literally say, here's my resume, here's my experiences, here's my interests. Can you help me state this in a clear, crisp way? Can you ask me questions that I haven't thought about? That's a part where AI does honestly, a really great job. You can then look at a job opportunity and you can say, well, this is what the job's asking for. And you can say, based on this job description and based on what I've just taught you about me, can you help me come up with a cover letter or a resume or whatever, some way of articulating it? That's good. But here's the thing that I found to be the most effective in the way that I've been sort of coaching my students is where AI is used to help to really help to build a portfolio that resonates with people. And I said that portfolio, and I think in academics, it's easier to see a portfolio if you look at it in terms of things like your publications and stuff, not just degrees, but other things like that. But in other industries, it's really difficult to show your portfolio, so you have to work at it. So when you talk about viewing AI within a recruitment field, the question I would ask you is, what does a portfolio look like? And how can you use AI to really help you build that portfolio? Now, that's the part I can tell you with a lot of confidence. Now, in terms of the military, well, obviously the military is a very broad organization, and there's a lot of different skills to that. One part I know about military is that a lot of the opportunities in military require you to sort of come in and earn your way up there. So the question is, within the military, is it that you want to work in the military, or is it that you want to work with the military? Because I've worked for a lot of companies that work with the military, and for all intents and purposes, it's like I'm working in the military, but I'm not. That is something which to me is easier. It is easier to get that kind of experience when you're working with the military versus how to get in the military. And so I've done things I've used. In fact, I've got a project right now that I'm working on with the military that is all about how to set up um, basically manufacturing on demand, where you can literally take a container that's got everything you need to drill parts and drop it down in a location, and boom, now you got an instant manufacturing. You don't have to worry about building the plants and stuff. Now there's a lot of AI involved in that. There's a lot. It's all military. So I would just say the thing I'd question you is, are you talking about being in the military or working with the military? Because working with the military to me opens up, honestly, I think it opens up as many opportunities as being in the military. And obviously, I actually think it actually gives you legs that are a little less available when you're in the military. And I'm basing that based on working with people in the military where they don't necessarily get the same opportunities to be as innovative as you do when you're working with the military. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you, Charles, for that question. One more here from Jerice. Do you feel that students have to have an understanding of AI in order to understand its use in medical apps?
Okay, so that's a that's a really great question. I'm going to restate that in a little way that I think will help answer this. You do not have to know how to code to take advantage of AI. Let me make that clear, because that's one of the big concerns people had is you don't have to know how to code. You also don't have to be an expert in statistics to use AI. Now, does that mean that certain aspects of AI don't require statistics or certain aspects of AI don't require coding? Yes, if you're going to pursue certain types of careers, you do. But those obstacles, for the most part, for the majority of people that use AI, not an obstacle at all. The only obstacle is your imagination. And I mean that. I know it probably sounds lofty, but again, most of my efforts on AI and looking at the successes I had very little to do with coding, had almost nothing to do with mathematics. Okay. It had to do with applications. It had to do with design, which is why design thinking, if you really want to know, if you really want to use AI, learn design thinking skills, because design thinking skills is how you learn to deal and work with customers and requirements. And once you get those requirements, your ability to sort of translate those things into areas of opportunity for AI, honestly, it's just practice. It's like any other skill. It's practice. And that's what I would say in terms of understanding AI in medical. It's really, can you capture what the problem is, the kind of data that you need, and the kind of tools that will get you the insights. And much of that is not requiring you to be really technical. And I think you're going to find that in the next few years, AI is going to become more pervasive where you even need to know less. Now, I'll give you one very quick example. Probably everybody here has at least worked with ChatGPT. How many of you actually know how it works? I mean, today you just go, you type in a question, you put in a prompt, whatever, summarize a text. How many of you actually know how that works? How many of you think that if you knew how it worked, it would actually make your prompts any better? I'm just using that because that's an example that a lot of people have had. And I know how ChatGPT works. I actually know mechanically what it's doing. I know how it works. I know the math behind it. It still amazes me. And I don't need to know that to use the tool. In fact, I'm not any better just because of that. I needed to know that because there's a lot of regulatory things that go on that are involved with that, which I don't want to, get into, but from a regulatory perspective, you do have to know how some of these things work because of issues with privacy and things like that. But no, you don't, that is not your limitation. Only certain types of careers require that sort of coding and mathematical background. The majority don't. It's your imagination and it's your willing to see things differently. So, other questions?
I have one good point to make, if I may. I was just talking in the chat here. I'm interested to see how AI does with potential medical students in regards to them applying through application things like AMCAS, and there's a few other ones. So Dave, you talked about AI kind of taking a hand in smart applying, so to speak, with potential applicants for jobs, and you applied for what, 200 you had said, and only got 5 replies. Now imagine that as a potential medical student, which would be me. And that's kind of scary in the sense of we put our entire heart and soul into this, and then a computer or a smart program like AI will determine our future. That makes me rather nervous. So I hope that they kind of make this more humanistic. And I wonder what your thoughts are on that, Dave.
Well, look, again, this is very much like the idea of even a job application. There's two sides to this. There's your side as the applicant, and there's the other side as the employer, or in this case, the school selecting candidates. It's a little bit of an arms race on there. But here's what I would say is the mistake people make with using like ChatGPT and large language models is to think that the output of that is going to be unique. It's not. It's learning based on statistical. It's literally telling you what is the most common thing that's being done. So when you ask it a question, it's not going to come back and say, well, gee, Stephanie, this is what makes you unique. That's not the way it works. Okay. What it can do is it can help drive you to, it can ask you the kinds of questions that you should be prepared to put into your application. So I tell people that the most frequent use case for me for large language models isn't to write the final product. It's the question my understanding. Read this. What things don't I know? What things don't appear here? What kinds of questions should I be asking myself? I don't expect a large language model to answer those. I expect that it can statistically say, Dave, you're missing these things based on my reading of 1 billion articles and whatever. So the question I would say is when you're using it for whether it's for medical school or other schools, it's you're letting the something like a ChatGPT or a Claude or whatever know something about you, but really it should be what you should be asking it is, what is it about this that I'm missing? What do you see in this? Like literally ask it to assess. When you read this, what do you see? So that's the one side about you as an applicant is it's a great tool for helping ask questions. It's not a great tool for telling your final story. You have to tell your story. ChatGPT is not going to tell your story. I think you find it to be a mistake. Now, on the other hand, you got schools that are reading these things, or whether they're reading them directly or they're using readers and things like that, right? So what separates you? Well, obviously there's your performance on things like tests and stuff. I'm excluding that because I'm assuming that's just quantitatively, there's certain characteristics they're looking for. But what separates you? This is why I said portfolio. When I did this test and I sent these resumes out, the ones that I got responses back, 4 out of the 5, if I remember, maybe it was 5 out of 6, whatever, were companies that looked at my portfolio, not my resume. And maybe they looked at my resume, but I'm saying the portfolio. And what they found is we like what that guy does. Not necessarily do we think that applies to us, but we like the way he went about stuff, right? So as a result, I'm sure that the if I had followed through on those opportunities, I don't not say I would have landed a job, but what I'm saying is I think we would have had a good conversation. Most of the people that rejected me, you know what? They did me a favor. They weren't interested in that portfolio. And I would say that about any place you apply to schools, right? That's why, you know, with my own kids, when they were applying to schools, I'm like, don't be heartbroken if you don't get into, you know, your first, second choice. You'll get into the school that finds you interesting. And I know that's heartbreaking for some people, but you're not gonna, you know, you've got your experiences. This is why I tell you to focus on those authentic experiences. This is why I tell you, as a school, as an institution, help your students to get those experiences to build their portfolio up, because it isn't a class, it's not a grade in a class that's going to make the difference as we go forward. It's those experiences and portfolios that make a difference. So that's what I would tell you, you know, Daphne, on this is use these tools to help you to build your portfolio, represent your best self. And for institutions that are on the other side of it, it's stop using these tools to just, you know, just to basically discriminate against people because of keyword searches. I mean, it's so silly that they use keyword searches to decide whether or not you're, you know, an asset or not, you know, worth a candidate. But I can't, you know, I don't have any magic way to change the world. I'm just saying that this is what I see out there. And, you know, unfortunately, again, there isn't one way to ensure that you're going to be, or, you know, anyone's going to be accepted into a particular school. Put your best foot forward and use ChatGPT and those things to ask you the kinds of questions you should ask yourself. That's what I would tell you to do. And don't expect it's going to write your story for you, because whatever story it writes about you is going to be boring.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Well, what I want to do is I just want to take an opportunity to thank you, David, for coming on to Aspen University and NSLS here to present this very powerful presentation. I found it very, very enlightening. You know, I've been sending team messages to my colleagues, you know, with just nuggets that I'm finding, you know, and I think that a lot of this was really good, you know, even if I'm not in the healthcare industry, you know, it's very applicable elsewhere. So hopefully the audience here and whoever watches this will see the value in it as well. There was tons of nuggets that was put through. I also want to thank Daphne Sager here, our Aspen University chapter president, for putting this together. This was a feat. We've been working on this now for like a few months. So we were able to pull it off and get this going. So I want to thank Daphne for her fine work and for recommending David for this awesome presentation. So with that, you know, if no one else has any other questions, we can call it a day. We've been here for a while, but it was time well spent, you know, and I hope that you found a lot of value in this information. And again, I want to thank you for coming. Hopefully, we'll be able to make these a little more routine in the future, and so hopefully we'll be able to see you again here in the future. So thank you very much, and everyone have a great evening.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And again, I'm on LinkedIn if you want to reach out and connect to me. Thank you.